Welcome to Stage Explorations, where we interview the theater creatives and artists from the theater world, those who perform on stage that the audience sees, and those behind the theater stage that the audience almost never sees. I am a journalist and theater fan, Buell Brown. Today's Stage Explorations Theater podcast will be a little different. Instead of me asking the questions, I'm having the theater creators themselves asking each other the question. Let's listen to this version of Stage Explorations podcast.
Hello, my name is Luis Aragon. I'm the president of the board of Teatro Máscara Mágica, and seated to my right is our artistic director and founder, William Bill Virchis. Thank you for joining us today. We're going to talk a little bit about theater, Teatro Máscara Mágica, and hopefully invigorate.
What was that word?
Invigorate.
I never heard that word.
Well,
I need invigorate.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm glad
Is there an invigorator in the field?
We need one right now.
So, so after that, great. And we're not actually a comedy company,
No, we're
but
not. We're theater of the absurd.
Yes, as you can well see. So, you.
Wait a minute. You're the president. Why am I not the vice president?
Because you've shied away from Vice.
Oh, you're right. Thank you very much. Okay.
Thank you so much. Yes. So, William, Bill.
My real name is Guillermo, though. It really is.
Yeah. No, I know. That's why we're going to call you Bill.
Okay. Because it's true.
Yeah.
My dad changed it because nobody could say
Yeah,
Guillermo.
I don't recall asking you that, but I'm glad you volunteered that.
Thank you.
I'm sure
My real name, you have to know.
Yes.
Is Guillermo
Guillermo?
Alejandro Virchis de Olvera.
Wow, I like Olvera. Isn't there a street named after you?
Yes, it's over. In fact, I get my guacamole in Olvera Street.
Okay, it's amazing.
Yeah, amazing.
Again, another
theatrical
off the track, but So
It's who we are.
So what do you want me to call you, or you just want me to call you?
Yeah, I've been called a lot of things. Bill would be fine.
Okay, Bill.
Memo. Memo is the translation of Bill.
Yeah, I didn't get that memo.
Okay.
But anyway,
You didn't get that memo?
No,
Okay.
no. So this guy walks
theater
into a
could be this
bar
much
and it's
fun.
Teatro Máscara Mágica.
Teatro
yeah.
Máscara.
The story is that you learned a great deal of your English that you're obviously still learning as a child, acting in Shakespeare at the Old Globe. Is that true?
That is true. That is true. Somebody just asked me, that's weird that you asked, because they asked me, when did I learn English, right? And literally, I couldn't tell you when, but I know the influences were the theater at the Globe when I was 9, because I was 7 when I came, and the television. And my father, of course, because my father spoke like 3 or 4 languages. But theater was a main component of learning it, even though I didn't speak the bar, but I think that is a very important learning process. Television was probably the storytelling device, I think.
When you were on the stage, because you were on the stage at age 9 or 10,
Yeah,
or
8 or 9.
what was your? Did it? We've heard the expression "love at first sight." Mm-hmm. Was it that emotion, or what emotion was it?
Well, I think it's the same that you had in music. When you probably start playing piano, and I don't know, how did you start playing piano?
With my fingers.
Yeah.
But no, I was, well, I know they want to hear about me.
No, but I know,
wouldn't, but I'd kind of
No,
like
but
to
what I was saying is
yeah.
it's kind of the same, isn't it? I mean, you have an instrument.
Yes.
Your instrument is obviously concrete, which is your
Right.
not a concrete piano, but it's there. Where literature and drama are really a mental instrument. And it's because language is so much part of it, it becomes the medium of it. The word becomes the medium of theater. Like light is the medium of photography, right? And the word is really the medium. And so learning a language, when you're a foreigner in this country, you have to learn a new language. It changes your thought. in your pattern of thinking, and because, in Spanish, the White House is not La Casa Blanca, is it, right? It's La Casa Blanca, right?
Yes.
It's reversed, right?
House White.
The House White. So what happens is that in your thinking processes, literature becomes, and the voice becomes very important. So when I started learning English, and I learned it from theater, it kind of went with both sides of the brain together.
I see. And that was the point. And to your question about music, I wrote my first song when I was 9 years old. I think there's an inevitability about art. One is called to it. If it is truly part of your core, it is inescapable. And I think that's what separates true artists from journeymen who go in and out. And it hit that theater has been your core, and from that moment forward, that caused you to found to start Teatro Máscara Mágica. And if I can capture that one moment where you and Dr. Huerta decided to form Teatro Máscara, what was the prevailing thought, that moment where you conceived it?
I remember it like it was yesterday. It was a conversation that we were giving time and our talent and some of our treasure to others and articulating their voice. And because I don't know whether it's because we all came from the educational field, which was very grounded on logic and literature and progressive thinking. I don't know if that was the case, but we spoke the same language. Remember we talked about language? So Jorge Huerta, myself, and Dr. Floyd Gaffney got together and said, it is time for us to leave the nest that we came from, which was the Globe Theater, which was Teatro Meta. And even our own institutions, where we did our work. And that was the thought. It was almost like the freedom, it was almost like crossing the border to a new frontier. And it was our new frontier of, we realized that one day we would be the majority. And that was very strange. This was like 1970s, right? We were all successful in our own little institutions. We could have stuck there, and did what we did. But I think all of us three were committed to those voices, the African American community, the Latino community, and the Chicano community. For me, I was Mexican, Jorge was a Chicano, Mexican American, and Floyd Gaffney was an African American. And we all had issues in the 60s, Mm-hmm. And that was where I think we crystallized the thought of being an independent company. Now here it is, like Shakespeare said, 2 boards and a play.
I have, of course, been a lifetime supporter of Teatro, but it's always amazed me at the foresight that you had when you created Teatro Máscara Mágica. No doubt you would have been in theater all your life, but that you chose to be a part of creating this theater company at a time, frankly, when it may have been difficult to foretell the demographics that you referred to and the need for the voice. So I think that's very impressive. Let me ask you, in the now, we're about to celebrate the 30th anniversary of Teatro Máscara Mágica. So congratulations to you, Bill.
Congratulations to you, because you have shepherded us in the last 5 years into another level of professionalism, and also articulating our voice and keeping our focus, But I think our 30th year is very important,
Before you go there, because that's obviously something we want to talk about, during this 30-year journey, was there a time when you felt, and maybe there were several times, but was there a time when you felt, this simply, I can't carry on with
Every
this?
day. Every day, really. Like you know what happens? It's like you're growing every second as an artist. And in the growth, there's doubt. There's weird stuff about growth. It's like, if you plant a seed and it starts growing, there's a doubt always in the positive sense that it will grow if you nurture it. But there's a doubt. Will it really grow into what I think the seed should be? This tree that will give this fruit, right? Because you've seen the fruit out there. You've seen the good trees. We came from good theater. We saw the good trees. We were involved in it. I was blessed by being surrounded by, incredible artists. Craig Knoll, Jack O'Brien, Anthony Zerbe, Augensteyer. I can go on and on and on. Victor Buono. David McKellen, Robert Hayes. How can you not take that and say, I see the tree? But there's always doubt. If anything about art, if doubt is not in it, then you're right. Will they like it? Will they, that kind of stuff. But beyond that, I think all of us, even yourself, is that you have this optimism that the work will be done. Now, the reality is it hits you every day because there's no money, right?
Right.
Remember we were talking about the two who's. Who is the audience and who is the players?
Right.
Without those two who's, Now, there's a lot of people that want to be the who actors, but they don't have any idea of the commitment. When you've been on the other side and it's a job, right? That the time.
When you talk about doubt, I'm reminded of John Steinbeck. Kept a diary when he was writing The Grapes of Wrath. And I, of course, had read The Grapes of Wrath. It's my favorite novel.
Well, you drink them now. You like a lot of wine, right?
That's
why you like The Grapes of Wrath.
Well, I didn't want the audience to know that, but thank you for sharing that truism. But his diary is, and I've given it to friends of mine who are, I'm not a good writer. Here's John Steinbeck writing The Grapes of Wrath. And the doubt. There are some pages I wrote, because he had a rule, he would write 400 words a day, come rain or shine, sober, drunk, whatever. Right. And some of these, at the end of the day, he'd say, well, I wrote 400 words of crap. This is, he used much colorful language. Right. And I'm thinking, oh my God, if John Steinbeck, as he's giving birth to perhaps the greatest American novel written, has those doubts, then it validates your point that to create art is to expose the most intimate part of who we are. When I can't imagine the courage it takes an actor to go and do a scene that draws from great emotion.
Oh yeah, no, it's a two. The sword has two edges, right? So you think about the positive and the doubt, and the whole part of failure is in our business. Failure is right next to the shoulder, and it's tapping you, and you're going, get away, get away, get away. I've seen it. You've seen failure, both personal, artistic, emotional, psychological.
Never failed.
You never failed.
I've never failed. But
You
go
never
on.
failed, though. Yeah, I failed a lot. But the whole thing is this, that in our quest in theater, especially theater is not one person. Theater is a collaboration of all kinds of voices. As a director, you are the manager of those voices. And there are people that doubt even coming in your ability. And you go, well, why are you with me, right? Mm-hmm. Even when they've seen work that you've done that's been successful, there's a little doubt. Where do I fit into this thing? So as it sits on your shoulder, You bring all these people together. Now, just think about how theater is. Okay, you as an artist and as a composer, you have your piano and you have your voice and you have your arms and your keys. And I mean, no other guy is going to come in and say, "Let me play the right hand," right? You have both hands.
True.
And in theater, there is a right hand, there's a left hand of other people, right? The piano is another person. The sound guy is another person. The costumer is another. The publicist. So you bring all these people and you go, wow, how do they merge into one idea? It's like having a canvas and go, okay, everybody get a brush and let's paint this tree. Right? I mean, just think about the complexity of it. Now, in this thing called collaboration, one has to deal and be the lead of the conversation. That's the director, right? Or the producer, director. And you need to have an open mind because all those other ideas have to merge with yours. Again, the seed, right? You plant the seed. Another guy can water it. Another guy can put the fertilizer. Another guy trims it. And a community has to take care of the tree. That's what theater is. And Teatro Máscara Mágica is that community, which is really exciting because it all has to be taking care of that growth.
Right. And just one note on music. You're right. The composer writes the music, but then other hands come in. The arranger, the singer, the musicians. Not unlike what you were describing. There's the playwright writes a play, but then the director comes in and all that.
Well, what's a play without presenting it? It could be just a book, a story. The plays are to be seen. Right. Craig Knoll told me one time, the producing artistic director of the Globe, who was like my father mentor for years. He said, "Bill, remember this: plays are to be heard, and movies are to be seen."
Okay, that's interesting.
So what is a primary goal, right? To be heard, to be listened to hear the words, Shakespeare said, say it trippingly on the tongue. Do not mouth the words, Say it trippingly on the tongue. In other words, be articulate with a word. Reading. Theater teaches kids to read.
Right.
To dig deeper in the word. That's what teatro does. Teatro is not about entertainment and, it cannot be that. Theater was never meant to be that. Theater was meant to have people be moved to action. Acting, action.
Is it not as simple as a person having a life experience, maybe a tragedy or even happiness, and being so filled with that individual experience that he or she wants it to be shared? So that person who writes that play wants the audience to become that person in terms of the emotion that is brought on by
Absolutely. Teatro and theater. Teatro is a genre. It can be analogous to theater, but teatro is a genre that does exactly what you're saying. It puts you in the other person's space. The campesinos, for instance, the maid, the farm worker, the abused person, the oppressor, the oppressee, right? Teatro does that. Theater does that in its bigger sense, but the word teatro is analogous to political change.
Okay, well, you're teaching me something. I had never made a distinction between theater and teatro. But you're saying that it is a philosophical. What is the characteristic that differentiates?
The translation of theater, of course, is teatro.
Yes.
But the genre of theater that's called teatro, it's agitprop. It's in your face agitprop. It's almost like theater of the absurd, those genres. But teatro has a different style. It is actually political in its intent. It's also theatrical.
Of course.
And sometimes it makes fun of itself, like Los Vendidos by Luis Valdez, right? And it shows stereotypes that you go, my God, how are you doing this? Well, it's showing you a mirror of what other people see. And and which is very brave to do, you know. So when we didn't call our somebody asked, why didn't you just call your theater magic? Because our theater is Teatro Máscara Mágica. Why didn't you call it magical theater? Well, we could have.
Yeah.
Because theater is magical, but that's not what we are. No. We're teatro,
right, with
these masks that are magical, and masks of all kinds of different cultures. In fact, our logo are different masks of different cultures. So when we began this journey of teatro, we did theater. I mean, I've done 40, 50 musicals, you know. Shakespeare, I've been very blessed to be able to have a playhouse at Southwestern College and others to do these plays. So the vast experience is the world of theater, the Western world of theater, as well as the Spanish world. But teatro comes into this pathway that we chose because it was the essential community that we were speaking about.
We talked about the 30 years. Do you think Teatro Máscara has to do anything different as it approaches the next, let's say, 10 years?
Oh, you know what? In fact, somebody says, what? I was asked, 10 years from now, what do you see? Well, right. 10 years from now, I probably going to be dying. I'm going to be 85 years old 10 years from now. So I'm going, okay, this is scary. Okay, I hope not, but let's just say,
can I have your jacket?
Yeah, you can have my jacket.
You.
Yeah, I'll leave you my hat.
No, I don't want the hat.
No,
the
jacket.
Okay.
So anyway, 10 years from now, this is what I hope. This is that we build a new voice. I'm looking for ways to present theater, teatro, and theater in a different, unique way. Okay?
Can you describe what that means?
See this thing?
Yes.
This is really important.
Right.
Not to us, but to the audience. The young audiences are duped by this.
Yes.
Okay. So how do we tell them to throw away this other brain that they're connected to, right? How do we do that? Well, the way we do technology is we have to merge this thing, this kind of delivery system in live. In other words, when you're here, you're not live. So how do we bring a new audience and the old audience to what theater really is, which is the live experience, right? Okay. So we were just speaking, you and I, before this interview, about genres that had been exposed to us.
Right.
Theater of the absurd, UNESCO, right? Expressionism, Impressionism, Genet, you know, Edward Albee.
UNESCO.
I mean, Pinter.
Pinter.
All these great authors that came in at one time that were speaking of the point of view of that moment in history. To do that, and they did it very well, by the way. It wasn't preachy. It was about the human existence of a particular environment. In order for us to get out of the victimized role, is find a new voice of entertainment that is truly entertainment, which is intellectual. Shakespeare is very entertaining. UNESCO is very entertaining. Theater I don't mean froth. I mean thought-provoking. Something that you can even laugh at. Irony, right?
Right.
So to find a new voice, a new way a new delivery system, I don't know how we even survive in this theater thing with sets that cost $1 million.
Right.
I mean, how can you do Les Miserables with all this stuff? You know, well, you do it as best you can with 2 sets and stuff. But it isn't Les Mis, you know. It is not that. So even high schools are having problems with getting properties. You know, they just copy the thing and blah, blah, blah. So how do we get away from this frosting, right?
I remember going to a rock concert 30 years ago and then going with my kids to see Coldplay. And the difference was
phenomenal.
Phenomenal.
I mean, we were just talking about the Beatles.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they quit because they could not stand the noise. They couldn't sing the songs live, right? So they went into an environment that created music, the recording studios, because live was impossible. Well, now live is everything else but music.
Right.
In fact, you don't even know if they're singing.
Right.
I went to a nightclub and I saw two people, and they sound like a rock band, right? All this stuff,
Sure.
And I was looking at their hands. The guy wasn't even playing.
Right. Well, they have tracks.
And I'm going, okay, now, how do we, again, now here's an audience with, and it's money. Two guys are better than, for the entrepreneur to, instead of a band. And now here musicians don't have jobs, and blah, blah, blah. Theater has to kind of come to sense and say, okay, how can we think out of the box in presentation?
Right. Because right now that is their stage.
That is their stage.
But you believe that we can make the transition.
Oh, I am firmly believe it. And I'll tell you, I think you said in an interview that we have to give new people voices, new artists, and how to write. Mm-hmm. There is no lab. If we could create a lab of failure, that would be great. And I mean a failure to succeed. That you can come to a place to fail and grow from that failure and not be criticized, but learn from that failure. We don't have that anymore. You can't do a play without it costing you $1 zillion. Mm-hmm.
True.
I mean, we have put on plays that we've killed audiences. Literally, because it's been so bad that they go, is this what it is? I mean, can you imagine the first guy that goes sees a bad play going, is this what the people were talking about? Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm talking about the play. I'm not talking about production values.
Right.
I'm talking about the play.
Yeah.
So, because why? We haven't had time for that off Broadway experience. We haven't had those trials off, before we get in the big white wave, I mean, we're so hungry that, we're the first Chinese play, and we're the first Latino play, we're the first the first Indian play, and you go, well, it's scary.
The moment is more important than the actual product. But time capsule, Bill, that they unearth 100 years from now. One moment of wisdom about theater. What would you have in that time capsule?
I can only repeat what Shakespeare said. Theater is life. The stages of life is theater. The theater of life. We live, we die, and we produce.
Beautiful.
Theater is life. I got to tell you, it saved me. I didn't want to be an artist. I wanted to be a doctor of the mind. I think theater is a behavioral science. I think it's a psychological study of man and women and the human condition. And it fights the three laws, the natural law, the spiritual law, and the man-made law. And that's theater. And it's if you don't know how to do that, if you don't know how to abide by those laws and how to protect yourself from those laws, then you have no place on this planet. We are now living in a theater of the absurd. I mean, we have players on the main stage of politics right now that come from a reality TV. Now, just think about this.
Literally. Yes.
Literally. And no disrespect to the president, but I got to tell you something. And I went to this is sad. I went to a motivational talk, and a kid asked me, I says, you have to go to school. I said, you be sure, it's this golden nugget that'll keep you there. And school doesn't teach you to make a lot of money. It teaches you how to keep it and how to share it. But, you don't have to go to school to be a millionaire. Trump is a prime example. But the question was for me, and this is the way I'm telling you about the president, is the guy is an actor. Unlike Reagan, that was an actor. This guy, Reagan was a movie star. Trump is a reality TV star. Now, let's talk Turkey here. Ronald Reagan was a politician through the medium of the movies. Charismatic. He spoke. He was president of the Arts Guild, all that stuff.
Right.
Governor of California. He surrounded himself with a good cast.
Right.
Our president is from the reality show circuit. He surrounds himself with reality cast. Now, I'm just speaking with my little ignorance of politics, that I look at this thing, and you told me about theater. I look at him as a theater person. Theater of the absurd, theater of reality, with no substance and no qualifications. Back to this kid asked me, why would I go and get an education if the president of the United States is president of the United States without any qualifications? How do you answer a kid? Remember, you too can be president? Well, now it is true.
Yeah, but you get your reality show first.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
So theater, going back to theater, if we're going to do a play that's going to deal with the time and about it, it's got to be real. It's got to be a mirror to that instant life. And I got to be honest with you. You know, I don't know how to answer these kids now, because it's this reflection of the you know, is it? How do you talk about the spiritual law in this? How do you talk about the natural law? How do you talk about the man-made law that is so obscure and so reflective of who is saying what?
Well, I think you answer them through the theater, through the plays that you direct. There is truth there, that it's unblemished by agenda. Well, I guess it does have. I think all art is political. It does. You draw a little cartoon, it's political,
Well, Diego
because it
Rivera
evokes.
said it. It's all propaganda.
Exactly. So I think you answer questions for youth, and you give them guidance, and you give them direction.
And it doesn't have to be, by the way, it doesn't really have to be didactic, you know. Preaching to the choir is just, you know.
No,
I think you wrote a play that's a wonderful little play. It's called Cupid.
Loving Cupid.
Look. And so, you know, as an artist, as somebody that's politically conscious and blah, 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 you read this play and you go, wow, this play's about love. What is more political than love? Right? What is more essential than the quest of the reality, of the emotion that drives us all? People are in jail because, you know, they shoot somebody or kill somebody because they think they were in love. Right. The passion. So this is not a heavy thing. What it is it's a human thing, right?
Right.
And I think that's what teatro does. Teatro Máscara Mágica is trying to give a platform for humanity, to make us better people, to do things right. That's what theater is supposed to do. And on your way, if you laugh and you cry and you think, that's good. But what is it good if it's like going to church? What good is it going to church every Sunday if you don't practice at least next Monday? Right?
Right.
At least at least Monday be good. But see, it amazes me. We've seen the bad, good, the bad, and the ugly from the beginning of time, from the storytelling, and we've yet to learn. And guess what? Because it's part of the ritual of saying the story over and over and over and over until you get it. The Jewish people have a saying, let's not forget. Right?
That's right. Well, thank you.
Well, thank you very much. It was a pleasure. Now I'm so heavy. I gained 20 pounds by talking to you.
You
because
really
it's so
did.
Heavy.
You really did. Yeah,
but I
you were
want to thank
definitely
you.
full of philosophy.
Well, I want to thank you very much because this is a great conversation you and I had. We haven't had.
I
this
enjoyed it.
I don't know whether you
We
enjoyed
probably
it.
won't get ratings,
No,
but
it's
I'm
okay.
having a good time.
It's okay.
Yeah.
But you know what? It really is our journey, yours and I's, and the board. We'd like to thank our board.
Absolutely.
Right?
And our
we have a
advisory
great board and our advisory board.
Artistas de Honor.
And Casa Familiar for taking.
Absolutely.
And especially Ron Baza, who had shepherded us.
Dr. Baza, yes.
And I just want to let you know that for me, it's those is the gift that you have given us, and actors, by the way, the actors
Absolutely.
that have worked for nothing,
Right.
who have given all their time, their
Right.
treasure, their talent, and I got to tell you, we are blessed by those people.
We are.
And I think once they reflect their life, they're going to find out how important theater was to their whole entire life. When you're in the eye of the hurricane and your ego's involved and you think, you're a legend in your own mind and all that stuff, you kind of don't see who brought you to the dance kind of thing. My dad said, never forget who brought you to the dance. You don't have to like them, you just have to respect them.
Right.
I think Teatro Máscara Mágica, to hundreds of people in the long journey, will be a very strong part of their puzzle. The lifelong puzzle.
I think it already has.
And I thank you very much. And I all those people, like the actors, the technicians, everybody who has made this possible for this little choo-choo train with zero budget, and just a bunch of guts.
I hope you've enjoyed our discussion.
Well, if you have it, please write to him.
Right, yeah,
And let him
he'll,
know.
and he'll write a whole new
Yeah,
one.
and then he'll write a thesis about it.
If
And we'd like to thank the studio, by the way, who made this possible.
Absolutely. We're not supposed to mention names.
Oh, no, we won't.
That's right,
Well,
'cause
but I don't know who Buell is.
Yeah,
I have no idea.
yes.
But we'd like to thank the studio who did
Absolutely.
this. Because
And-
we've wasted a lot of their time. And I don't know who's going to, I know that you and I will see this and probably go,
Hundreds
what
of
did
times.
we do? Yes,
Hundreds of
at
times
least.
I'll watch this.
And you better
Yeah.
watch it too, because,
Yeah.
this could be part of your curriculum.
Yeah, really.
And they'll be tested, right?
Absolutely.
We're going to send you an email on the test.
Yeah. So if you enjoyed this discussion, and
Okay,
particularly if you
tell them
didn't,
where they can get a hold of us. That's very important. This
it's
is our
county
commercial.
jail. Oh no. Okay. So Teatro Máscara Mágica, and
And here we are in the Tijuana jail. Had got no money. No. Yeah, tell them where to. Where they,
well,
where can they-
I don't want to.
No, give them our website
Oh yes, teatromascaramágica.org.
and how they can be involved.
Any way that they wish to be, as an actor, as a volunteer, someone, if you have an extra $100,000 hanging around, and we know who you are, give it to us because we need it. Someone has to buy these silly hats for him.
Yeah, exactly.
So please get to know us, because we're here to get to know you and to put you on the stage. Thank you.
Gracias.
Thank you for listening or watching this podcast episode of Stage Explorations. To learn more about the theater creative and more theater creatives and artists on Stage Explorations, go to www.stageexplorations.com. Once again, that is www.stageexplorations.com. There is no space between stage and explorations. You may find more videos, podcasts, and information about this theater creative and other theater creatives and artists on Stage Explorations YouTube channel. Looking forward to seeing you in the theater.